Here on Rhema 99.7. Coming up shortly, well, we're going to have a little bit of fun in the studio because not only is the wonderfully talented Reva here today, but she has brought her mum. What fun. There'll be laughing, there'll be spiritual deepness, there'll be all kinds of things. We never quite know. But the great thing is that we're sharing it with you. So looking forward to that coming up soon. Let's play a real fun song. This is a great one. It's from Torrin Wells featuring Kirk Franklin, and it's called Millionaire. Good like that. It deserves singing again and again. Millionaire from Torrin Wells and Kirk Franklin as well on Rhema 99.7. My name is Laurel Mack, and drum roll please. Please welcome the wonderfully talented Rachel Reva and the Bob. The Bob. You should be known as the Bob, shouldn't you? You're like an icon, Bob. You are. You're an icon in the studio.
She's getting but you're absolutely right. She is an icon.
Closer to the icon.
Before there was a Rachel Reva, there was a Barb who was volunteering at Rhema and promoting Rhema and praying for people and sending out mail outs and showing up to the Rhemathon. She's been an icon for many, many years.
And she's an icon to you and a mother.
Yes.
There you go.
Mother first.
It's interesting, right? The song that was just playing. It like segues into my first question. Without being overly Christian and helpful and nice, if you were given $1 million and you had to spend it on yourself or just your family, what would you do?
Without
out COVID. Yeah,
I understand. No, I can, truthfully.
Because you can't travel.
I would build a huge house, Greenleaf style. People don't know what that is. This is a Christian show about this. And basically have a massive mansion to where all of our families can live together but have their own place, and have a huge acreage to where we can host retreats and have people visit. We can have family reunions. That's the plan. That's the vision. That's what I would do. And we can have a pool there. Like we would have it basically an extended home.
Yeah.
That's what I would do. For my family, just specifically for us.
Yeah, especially. So before Barb goes, I'll give her a minute to think. I think I'd love to travel with my family. I'd love to and my kids are grown people. Yeah. People, not children. Yeah. I've always vowed to take them back to Disneyland because it's not a child's place. It's an everybody place.
It is a beautiful experience.
It's beautiful. So I would like to travel because we also have friends all over the world that we just don't see anymore. So what fun it would be to have a round the world trip. Even to go back to New Zealand, see some of them there, go back to South Africa. There's so many places we need to see that we'll never see again in our lives. So that would be one of my things.
Well, I'm going to add on to that because the extension of that big home mansion style is we want to have
a private plane.
It's true. You laugh, but I'm like, no, this is the vision. I've said that all of those people, because we're like you, we've got family all over the world, and we were going to have a family reunion next year was the plan, and basically hire a house, so all the big family. So, so that's something. I'm like, why do we need to do that? How about we just have a big home, and we get a private plane, and we just jet people to where we want to be.
I love it.
Thank you.
So let's 100% do that.
Let's just think bigger.
Bob, spending on yourself and no one else, what would you do?
I would take that $1 million to make that her million happen. We'd have $2 million.
You're funny.
Yeah. It's the same. Isn't it interesting though? I think with this pandemic, first of all, we've lost contact with people here in Newcastle. We don't feel like we can just drop in. We don't feel like, do you know what I'm saying? That's been taken away from us. That impromptu connections.
Yes.
Those don't really exist anymore. You have to plan them and get a mask and work out where you're going to meet and do they have enough room? And I think the spontaneity of relationship is what has affected the COVID the most for me,
Yeah. I agree. Absolutely.
I'd love to go back to New Zealand and see our friends there. We can't do it. My daughter managed to fit in a trip back recently, but she just got out in time. You have to do it again. Ursula Carlson, the comedian, was on TV last night. This is her fourth Laurel quarantine going back to New Zealand.
Oh my gosh.
So she's going to sit there in the hotel and she's got kids and all sorts of stuff. But I think it's taken away that.
Yeah.
My neighbour across the road loves having nibblies for the neighbours. And the first time she did it last year, she's got a massive outdoor area. She had bacterial or antibacterial stuff everywhere, but you had to think about what you were doing without just hey, come for a coffee, 10 people. Hang out. Our home group was completely befuddled what to do. They were like, okay, we could maybe walk, we could split it into two houses. There was none, and we had just started and got to know people. So you're right. I think that's what we're all longing for, that whole
community. I think community connection, but it's so funny. I definitely completely relate to the lack of the spontaneity. You do have to be thoughtful. But actually, it's made me so much more intentional with how I've connected with people. Because it's not just, maybe one day. It's like, well, if you want to, you have to work for it. So I think the harder thing is, obviously, if you're vulnerable, and if we've had events and if you've got people of a certain age and they're vulnerable, you have to be super cautious. And so there is a lot of isolation. But I don't know. I almost feel like it's this incredible way of God bringing us back to basics. That's honestly what I feel. Yeah. And I've been looking up throughout history that when the plagues happened and when horrible viruses hit the earth, some of the biggest inventors came out. I think Plato, he did some of his best work during that time. If you look at Conrad Hilton, the creator of the Hilton hotels, it was in the Great Depression, and he decided, I want to buy that hotel, and 20 years later he did. And so something that's been coming up for me is I've been really limiting my media exposure. I'm still informed. I make sure I'm informed every day, but I will not engage with it.
Me too, yeah.
And by that, what I mean is I'm still going, you know what, God? You're bigger than COVID. My dreams do not rely on COVID. So I've been dream still is kind of the message I've been giving people. I don't care what COVID says. Look at what God says. He doesn't say, if the pandemic is happening, your dreams don't qualify. So anyway, that's my spin on it. So even the relationships, some of them have deepened. Some of them have fallen away because you know what? Maybe they weren't that necessary to begin with.
Isn't that interesting when they don't come? Well, we're going to catch up saying a lot more about that coming up soon because we do need to throw in a song, and I think it's quite apropos. Tasha Layton, look what you've done, Rachel Reva. To Rhema 99.7, this is Laurel. I nearly called myself Moral Mac. My name is Laurel Mac. This is Mornings with Laurel. How are you doing? I'm happy because I get two lovely ladies in the studio today. Not just one, but two. The wonderful Barb, the wonderful Rachel. I nearly called you the wonderful Reva because it's such a fun... Is that your second name?
It is. It's my middle name.
Oh, well, then you can be a Reva.
I can be a Reva.
You can be anything you like, right?
Barbara used to call me Reva all the time.
Oh, really? Which is cross with you?
A little bit. Or it was just if she just wanted to make a statement. Reva or Reva Grace, because I was named after my great-grandmother, so...
Wow. So because you're all in the room... sorry, I love the southern accent. It's my favorite. So I'll throw it in just because you guys are here. When your mother called you and you knew you were in trouble, did she call you differently?
The tone was different.
But not the word, not the name.
Sometimes Reva Grace was more of like an endearment kind of term.
Reva Grace, okay, now.
Yes, kind of. But when she was angry, it was more... It was this deep, slow, low... scary voice. It wasn't this loud, explosive. Apparently, when we first moved in with our stepfather, when we moved here, he was like, why do you guys yell all the time? We're like, we're not yelling. We're just talking. And he's like, everyone's just yelling a lot. I don't understand. And we were like, we're just talking. And it took us a while. He was like, I just think, tone it down a little. I know.
That's around all these girls, right?
Girls just shrieking, apparently.
Shrieking
but we
at
just,
each other.
Yelling at each other in the next room.
Lively discussions.
We're like, these are just passionate conversations.
Yes.
But when Barbara's angry, she doesn't get loud. She gets there's a stare, and it's a Southern mama stare. I'm sure it's a Southern mama stare, and her voice gets really low, and it's scary.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
My mother never calls me Laurel. She's Luckins or La, but if she said Laurel, I knew I was in trouble.
I have to say, if Mom ever says Rachel, that's unusual. Usually it does signify something. Rachel.
Yeah. Really?
Rachel. It's like that. Rachel. And I'm like, oh, gosh.
Well, talking about being in trouble and being naughty, I did throw some questions in for the next little bit. I'd like to know three things. What makes you laugh? What makes you cry? And what makes you frustrated?
Barbara, would you like to go first?
Barbara, tell us. What makes you laugh?
I think the things in life that just you happen to see I got one. For instance, this morning when we came into Rhema, Shane, who one of the staff members was walking by. At the same time he's walking by, Joel, is it? The other guy that was coming up. Corey. Forgive me, Corey. Yeah. But Corey was coming up. And Corey has shaved since Rachel seen him last.
Yes.
And she just had said hey to Wayne, and he just went hey, and then she says, I like your hair. And if you could see Shane, his hair is kind of clipped real short, never any different really. And he actually kind of looked back and felt the top of his head, and then it was Corey he realized that she was talking to, and he just kind of embarrassed, self-embarrassed.
Can I make a note here, Shane? I like your hair too. It's very nice.
But it was just one of those little moments that Rachel didn't see it, but I noticed it, and that made me laugh inside. I love catching the unawares.
That's good.
And the other thing that makes me laugh is my grandson Michael. That little boy just makes me laugh.
He sounds like a really funny boy.
He's a character.
He is a character. We're lucky to have him, but he is, and I think he's that kid that knows if he can get you at a certain point, you've lost the game. Is all I can say.
Yeah, my son's like that.
Yeah,
it's
It's very endearing, but you got to keep it in check. You want them
God does that to punish you.
Yeah.
He makes them cute, and then you don't want to get angry with them, right? Do you know what makes me laugh?
What?
Real basic humor, like clowns. I find them very funny. In fact, there was an episode of the TV show that I used to present, and there's this clown and their kids, and at one point, he does something silly, and I go, but then it carries on. He does the next trick. I still find the first trick funny. All you can hear in the background is,
Do you like slapstick? Do you like slapstick humor?
Love it.
That's awesome.
And I find the people I live with funny. Like my husband can be very funny, and so can my kids. But I like. There's a magician here called the Amazing Jono. Mm-hmm. I find him incredibly funny. It's because I have a very childlike appreciation of humor, and we studied being a clown when I was in drama school, and it's really interesting actually.
Yeah.
And you learn how to how to be funny. So that makes me laugh. And So what about you, Ray?
Wait, may I put a plug in? You're talking about Jonathan Burrow, right?
Am I?
Yes, you are.
Oh, there you go.
And he is such an awesome person.
Amazing.
And a magician as well.
Yes, he does a lot of events and stuff.
Yeah, he does. So just want to plug that name now that you brought it up.
Amazing Jono.
Yep. Very
love
good.
him. I should have him on my show.
Oh,
see, your mother and I have done. You don't know what's talking to.
It's true. I don't even need to talk. I'm like, you guys got this.
What makes you laugh? Your child makes you laugh.
I was going to say Michael because
he is funny.
He is funny, but when he wants to dance, so I try and I do. I want us to dance a lot, but his version of dancing is literally just he closes his eyes and spins himself around. There is no other version of dancing allowed, and I've tried. I'm like, ooh, maybe we can be YouTube sensations. So I'm trying to put on all these let's put on Footloose or Rocky, and it is so embarrassing because I've got the phone ready, and he's like, Mama, what's this? Why do you have this on? What are they doing? Why are they doing push-ups? What's going on? And I'm like, Michael, dance. And he's like, I will just spin around until I make myself dizzy and fall. So anyway, I'm trying.
Way more fun, Rachel.
It's way more fun. But I'll tell you the thing that makes me laugh the most when he does is when I go, no, you can't have that. And this is 20 times a day I say this, no, you can't have that cookie. You can't have that sugar. And he goes, just a little bit? Just a little. He negotiates with me every time I say no. And it throws me every time. He can do it 10 times a day, and I still find myself going, am I being unreasonable? No, I'm not.
Do you realize he's still going to do that when he's a teenager?
Oh, no doubt.
Example, yesterday, my son does shift running managing at Domino's, and he learned to do some crisis management recently, which was really good over 2 days. So I was being a good mommy, and I was at the plaza yesterday, Rachel, my second home. Rachel's met all my friends at the Walls End Plaza, now called the Walls End Village. Anyway, and what happened is I thought I knew he had a long shift. I thought I would take him a V, like Red Bull, whatever it is, because he had a long night the night before, came home at 3 a.m. So I went there like a good mama bear, and I went, and I thought he was either going to give me the look of, why are you here? Or he was going to be happy to see me. He gave me such a soft look in his eyes.
Aww.
He gave me a soft, and I said, yeah. He says, thank you very much. And then he said, I'm missing a sock at home. Can you please find it?
That's really
He was
funny.
missing his sock. It is bright red. We still don't know where it is. He had to go and get some more yesterday. So in the midst of getting the V, he told me that and then I told him I got something from Baker's Delight as well. He was happy.
Oh, that's
But yeah. So I confronted the other woman who was there. Sorry, could you just find my sock when you get home?
Well, this morning, Michael, when I was trying to wake you up, I'm like, Michael, it's time to get up. And he rolled over and he looked at me and he went, can you help me? And I'm like, I don't need to help you get out of bed. But he's like, can you help me, Mama? But he knows I will. That's what he does. If he just wants, can you help me? Because he knows you're not going to say, no, I'm not going to help you. But it's the mind twisting. He knows how to twist my mind.
Well, Joan, this is probably going to happen to him.
Yes.
I'll finish and we'll go to a song and come back for the next questions. My son was in year about 5 or 6, and he had the strictest teacher. Her name was Tracy. Everyone was scared of Tracy. She was amazing. She was trendy. trendy and fancy and together and arty, and we were like, oh, Tracy, you know. Anyway, so we went for our first parent-teacher conference, and we're sitting there, and so she's very serious, my husband and I were like, and she goes, well, Connor's age is, it's a year above his reading age, is very good, and his mathematics is very good. We're like nodding, and she goes, but he's so cute, cute.
Tracy was besotted.
In the parent-teacher conference.
Tracy was
He's
besotted.
sitting there and he saw her, and she clearly had a crush on him. It was
That
really funny.
is so sweet.
So that's going to be Michael, can I just say? Let's talk about this in 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
That'll be him, right? Coming back soon, chatting to Bob and Rachel, but here is wonderful local music, talking about talented locals. This is a lovely song by Jeremy Bilson, and it is called For Rachel and Bob on Rhema 99.7. I'm Laurel Mack. How you doing? It does sound like an anthem song, isn't it?
I'm feeling inspired.
It's stirring.
It's stirring. Stirring to the soul.
Stirring to the soul, the body, the mind, and the heart.
Well, I
Hallelujah.
gotta say, Laurel just kind of like preached to us in that
That's true.
in that last
No, it's
gap
so
we
much.
had. It was
Oh, there you go.
amazing.
Rachel's writing everything down. Oh dear.
She's just giving me topics. I'm like,
we
this
should
is
write a book
great.
together. You should write a book together.
We should, because it was so easy writing the first one. Easy peasy, guys.
I'm reading a
That
book
was
at the moment.
sarcasm.
It was
I
sarcasm.
know, I know it was sarcastic. I know it cannot have been easy to do what you did. I am, and I had the pleasure of being there when you launched it.
You
Wasn't
were.
that
You were
tough?
integral to
Let's do
it.
a retro gratitude. Praise the Lord that Rachel had a fantastic book launch. All the teachers, this is my latest thing, is a retro gratitude.
I love this.
And it was a fantastic day, and you got to meet my daughter, and the PowerPoint worked, we had fun, and we all
beautiful.
looked nice. And you were outside, I had books and people and
There were
action.
books and people came,
Yeah.
and Barbara was my bookie for that. Let's just say that. If it wasn't
Yeah.
she booked out all the seats. She made sure that was a full
It was
house.
in gold class as
It
well.
was
What
in
else
gold
are
class.
moms for?
Yeah, sorry.
What else are moms
Oh
for?
my gosh, she'd be a bookie in another life.
And I
People
met
don't
Mark,
understand.
and I met your sisters,
Yes.
and everybody. It was just, that whole day for me was probably one of my best days this year.
Oh,
100%.
thank you.
100%.
It was
and I was
beautiful
happy
for
Eden
me.
was there as well, because
Oh.
she's heard so much about all of you.
She's
and she was the perfect person to sit in the corner and do the take.
She
because then
was.
your sisters could chat to people, and your mom and
Super
everyone else,
impressive.
yeah?
She was super impressive. And it really did feel like, for me, it was my family coming together, my community coming together. And I felt so supported that day. Like, I think a book, and I've been to quite a few book launches, and I always remember seeing the author. And I don't care how successful they've been or how many books they've written, I've seen people with shaky hands. Like, there's a nervousness, because it's like you're releasing something.
A bit of yourself, yeah.
A bit of yourself, and people are there just for you. And it's a weird feeling, but I felt so humbled by anyone showing up, like, especially the year that it is, COVID, for anyone to just
I
to get out
remember that.
the door.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was very nerve-wracking, but God, I felt called to do it. But you can't, it takes a village, is what I would say. It takes a village to get your message
It
out
was a
there.
great village, because my little village that was Eden, and then you had all your, but we felt we were all in it together.
It felt that
Oh,
way.
and this
I
together.
so appreciate it. It was
Yeah,
so
so
such a
there's a
beautiful
retro
time.
gratitude.
I
I do it now,
yeah.
Bob. I do my three things, and then I choose a retro gratitude from earlier in my life.
Yeah.
Even when I was a child.
I love that.
Is that a great idea?
I think we need to give you a retro.
Yes, I'm very grateful for Laurel, because, oh my gosh, I remember, was it you were there? And
Yeah.
you fully showed up. She was so, I felt like I had this amazing producer, and it felt like my Oprah moment. I was like, I got my Oprah moment, and that makes you Oprah.
And you came down the stairs and we clapped.
Yes.
People that weren't there wouldn't understand what you're saying, because she was your interviewer.
Yes. So
Yeah.
Laurel, obviously, I asked Laurel, can you please host this book launch, which meant she interviewed me. She warmed the audience up, because this is the most awkward part about book launches. Let me just say this. The author's there with the book like, hi, please buy my book. And all you want to do is have a glass of champagne and just like, oh my gosh, I don't want to ask anyone to buy my book, but do you want me to talk about it? It's so uncomfortable. And I remember thinking, I will never put myself in that position. You need someone there to draw the story out of you. And she is incredible. So if anyone's looking, by the way, I know she's not asking this, but if anyone's looking, if you have a small, intimate launch, or if you have an event, you need someone to Q&A it, to be a producer, to be a host or an MC, Laura would be incredible, because she just
Amen.
made it professional. I took something that I was like, this is my heart, can you help me? But she made it a beautifully produced
sure
event.
did.
So I was so grateful
I
for
threw
you.
all the rules and what I was going to do out the night before, because the very next morning when I was praying, I just decided to leaf through your book.
Wow.
And that's when things came back to me. Weird, eh?
Can I say something though? That only happens when you've done the preparation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Because
you're
it-
right.
see,
It
you're-
launches off that, doesn't it?
It does. You have to prepare for it. And I've said that the same. Like, there have been times when I've studied the Bible, I'm like, okay, well, this is my plan. And then God's like, no, you're going there. And then what comes out of you. And so it was really beautiful. I felt like the things that you mentioned, I was like, wow, I forgot that I mentioned that. But you just leave together, you like really sew together this beautiful message, much better than I could have ever done myself. So I just want to say, if you've got anything you're trying to get out in the world, get a village, get a team around you, and get someone like Laurel who can help you and help get your message out into the world, because you can't do it in isolation. You really can't. This is what I teach my clients. This is what I could go on so many rants
and also,
here.
if you have someone with you at the book launch, they can make you sound wonderful.
Yes.
You know, instead of you say, oh, I'm so great, and I've written this book, it's always hard. And a conversation's always fun because we had laughs, we joked. You know, people feel more relaxed when that's happening.
It was a conversation, and we do know each other, quite well, so it flowed a bit. And I have to say, like, you talk about the seeds and the retro gratitude. Had I not pitched myself 2 years ago for the Coffee and Faith segment that no one knew about for the first year except my mother, I would not have, Laurel and I wouldn't have connected, and we wouldn't have this spot today. So everything is like, all the seeds that you're planting, they're leading into something. You're building something, but you've got to follow the divine inspiration God gives you, because when you don't, what happens to the talents?
Well, they disappear or they don't get used. But you know how you spoke about the seeds? I think that's why God gives you a sign sometimes. You plant them. They may just be on stony ground and not. The sun might, get them up. The thorns might get them as well. So it's interesting that there's like 3 other ways that they can go down before they actually grow.
That is a really powerful thing. Because
you know what I'm saying?
People talk about the seeds and the harvest, but what has to happen to have that seed? Laurel could be the sun. Like, you've got people in your life who are going to be the sun, who are going to help strengthen it and, give it the vitamins that it needs. Then you've got the water. Who's going to water you and refresh you and make sure that you feel encouraged when you need it? And I'll tell you, that's come to me at the most perfect times when I felt so discouraged. I get an email from someone, but that's the water. Right? So, and there's been studies done about plants, and this is right.
100%.
Yeah, you share.
Well, Ben's had a plant who works here for ages that he didn't love very well. It has a name. But then,
are you shaming Ben and his plant management?
Then he decided to give it more attention. Suddenly it grew, and it is delightful now. Now, I'm a firm believer. Both my whole family I love plants, and our lemon tree is just flourishing at the moment. And it's all, the first time we took the lemon off, we were so excited. It's like, oh, it's a lemon.
It's exciting.
Let's put it into something. Avocado, yum. Okay, we're going to go to a break. When we come back, I want to ask you the other 2 questions. Bob and Rachel here on Rhema 99.7, the station that is always here for you, as am I, weekdays from 9 to 12. On Rhema 99.7, Laurel Mack, joined by Rachel, Reva, and Bob, always known as the Bob. The Bob. Bob, can I tell you, in my house, I'm the mama, right? So when my kids were smaller and they wanted to know why they needed to do something, I'd go, because I'm the mama. You don't need a reason.
What else
You're
do you
just
need
the
to know?
mama.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Well, mamas actually have that look that they give you sometimes across the table. Apparently my mother said, though, if I was saying the wrong thing at some party or something and she kicked me under the table, I go, why are you kicking me? She gets really irritated with me. But, Bob, is it interesting for you to see how your kids have changed from when they were little to how they are? And obviously, I reckon you'd have to parent a little bit differently with all your girls. But they're not all the same person, are they? So that's interesting in your house. Tell us the different personalities of your girls. I'm interested to know. From your point of view.
From my point of view, Lord have mercy.
Lord.
So Wendy's the eldest, and she was 7 years old before we had Rachel. So,
all right.
She developed a very thoughtful. She's one of the most thoughtful, kind human beings in the world.
Right.
She's always got eyes that see the needs of others.
Yeah, myself.
And with Rachel, who came along 7 years later, that helped him. That was part of the, and because she was such an expressive child.
Expressive, that's very kind.
Like your son.
Yes.
And the things that she talks about her son Michael is deja vu to me, as to the kind of child that she was. But she was very different in the sense of she knew what she wanted and she knew how to voice it, which was very specific. And as much as she was a joy, she was also a frustration because she was that.
So glad. Exactly.
Rachel.
Exactly.
Rachel frustrates you.
I knew that was going to happen.
But it was
Holy moly.
good, just like it's good when Michael frustrates you, right?
Yeah,
because there's healthy specifics going on.
Just collapsed in a corner.
Yeah.
Wow,
How about, and then we had Leslie, 18 months, they're 18 months apart. And Leslie is mischievous. She's a little stinker. She's, she loves her sisters. They all love each other. I think it is...
What a collection, though.
Yeah.
I have to say, one of the things that I found interesting, and you only know your own dynamic, you don't know what's unusual or not.
Yeah.
We're all three very different in our personalities, and yet we love a lot of the same things, and we do complement each other. We used to say, like, the power of three, and I've only recognized, even in my business, because they work in the business with me, when I brought my sisters on is when everything changed, and Barbara, too, to a certain extent. And I just realized, like, how fortunate we were to have each other. But Leslie and I, 18 months apart, Mom used to dress us up like twins. We were like, no. And
they looked like twins.
People would think we were twins, but we weren't. But Mom used to dress us up. So she fully went there, and it was so annoying.
It sure was easier.
Mom's like, it's easier.
But you know what? Do you know what I've realized when I look at my husband and myself and both of my children who are very different, in Eden and Connor are 9 years apart, exactly the same. They have the same values, the same goals, the same way of measuring things. Because I know that everyone in my family will always work a little harder. To them, work is very important. Right. And we had a friend of ours, Richmond, come out. He's a former sponsor child. We know he always stayed with us in New Zealand. But we went for dinner, and we were talking about, work ethic. And he said to Connor, expecting a very deep answer, what is your work ethic? Because my son has never been late to his job in 3 years. He's now managing 3 days a week. He loves
that. That is awesome.
Always steps in when someone else is sick. Always helps with the menu. That's just how he is. So he turns to Connor and he goes, what's your work ethic? And Connor looks at him and goes, I get paid. In other words, if you're there to do a job, he's always loved that you had one job thing. Because he has seen a number of millennials come in and be on their phone while they'll be trying to do pizza. He comes home nearly often every day and just rants about the people who are he's 19, this person did this and this person stood around and this driver didn't do this and he sat in the car for ages and he literally, that's the way he thinks. You've met my daughter, 100%, my husband and myself. So even though we're all very different people, we joined, because my husband and I would often have events, but we'd all go. It's just like you. We'd all help. And as a family, I think we'd always step in if there was something to do. And we're still like that today. I'll help my husband with spelling or whatever. Eden will help me with the campaign, whatever. So I think, it is interesting. I think it's a family ethic, isn't it?
It is. I think you only know Mom never, bossed us around about it. It was more just that she had a strong work ethic. We obviously developed that because of her. And I think the main thing that I kind of learned was I was never the smartest. I was never the quickest at picking things up. I never was. But she would say, if you just do the right thing and show up on time. And it's incredible how rare it is to be reliable. Is what I would say. And that will make you stand out. Reliability and kindness and just being good at what you do. You don't even have to be the best, but just being, and I remember
the best of yourself.
The best of yourself, but it doesn't mean you have to be better than the other people.
No.
It just means you have to give to your capacity, essentially. And the feedback I would get from managers is, you're such a great team member. You're such a...
Important.
It is important. It's not, and let me just tell you guys, skills are a small part of the game.
Very much so.
Very small. If you can't get along with people, if people don't like you, and Mom she knew how to work with people. And I saw that. She used to work in jewelry. She managed a retail area. And so we would show up, and sometimes we would be behind the scenes, and she would get us to, rip up coupons, crazy stuff, because we had nowhere to go.
Same as our family.
Exactly.
As well,
so I saw her constantly working.
That was important to them.
Yeah, and Dad as well, and Mark, our stepdad, too.
Because what's interesting is my daughter did, I think I mentioned this last week, but Barb wasn't here. My daughter did a review, because she's now become an account director at her agency. And, so they have to do a 180 review where people below you review you, above you, whatever.
Hard.
She got a line from a person who she manages who said, not only is Eden a wonderful boss, but she's a wonderful human being.
Wow.
What more do you want?
That's it.
In fact, I would probably. My son was that person in the in the play yard with all the kids were. Where if someone was alone, he'd go to that child.
Yeah.
And he was that person at school. He was always surrounded by people, but he would always look after people. And can you do this? And can you give me a lift? And I just always said yes, because that's the way you taught them.
Yeah.
But both of them know that they need to be a better human being.
Yes.
And that's why when the one manager was sick, he did extra hours, and that's just the way that he thinks. But I think it's a Christian thing a lot of the time as well.
Yeah.
Because you do have to be the best of you with everybody else, don't you? You don't want to be sometimes. But once I was going through the worst time of my life here in Australia, and I went to Aldi and I packed up my stuff, and I kind of singing while I was walking. Someone turned around to me and they went, "Oh, you sound really happy." And I wanted to say to her, "No, I'm not."
I'm miserable.
But singing to myself
Encouraging.
became my thing. And when Mary Poppins came out, I challenged myself to learn all the lyrics as a way, and every lyric is about seeing the good in everything, see the best in everything, keep your head up high, all that kind of stuff. And it's interesting that we have to be, and it's hard sometimes, but that's who we are often called to be in the world.
Well, I think one of the biggest things is we have to learn how to encourage ourselves, and that's different for every person. Mom can speak more to that than I could.
Yeah, how do you do that, Bob? Are you having a low day? How do you get out of that? What is your go-to?
Honest to goodness, the word of God. It is the only real truth, and it just picks you up even when you don't feel like being picked up. But his word just brings life. There's always life in his word. And when you are seeking God, you will find him. If you have the expectation when you open the word, God will reveal a Rhema encouragement to you. But as y'all were saying about the seeds and the watering and all like that, the word of God is all of that. He is the seed. He waters his own word. He, harvests his own word. There isn't anywhere in here that you cannot get encouragement. But of course, sometimes you just want to say the name Jesus, because you can't even hardly bear to open the word. And those are the times that honestly I have learned the powerful name of Jesus. And I remember, have I got time for this?
1 minute.
There was a particular time that I was going through such a severe time that I actually thought, I was very young. I was hardly 20, 21. But I thought, I'm losing my mind. And this elderly woman said to me, every time you think, you're thinking thoughts, say the name Jesus 500 times. I never had to. By the time I got to 100, it was overtaken. And I have shared that with so many people who have said what I said. It works. His name is enough.
That is absolutely amazing, Bob. And just remember that the name of Jesus is above all things. I've actually seen it happen in real life, where the name of Jesus has physically changed something in the room. So yes, thank you very much. And it's been delightful having Bob and Rachel here. It's been wonderful. We have to get you back.
Thanks for having us.
I'll challenge you each next time to a 1 minute preach.
Ooh.
How's that for a deal?
1 minute. Yeah. I challenge accepted.
Okay, good. I'll send you the topics that morning, so it comes just out of your head. I was going to just talk about something. Preaching is just, how do you feel about it?
Improv school. I love it.
Improv school of preaching with Bob and Rachel. There you go, everybody. Wonderful stuff here on Rhema 99.7. It's bye to the wonderful ladies, and it's hello to the news.
Commercials, and so I did the music and edited it. So, how you're like, I've never done that before, so hopefully it was correct. But, can't hear anything.